It was another hot day in South Philadelphia. The real feel temperature, 100 degrees at the NovaCare complex. And we have another Philadelphia Eagles training camp reaction show coming your way right now. Let's go. Day 6 of Philadelphia Eagles training camp is in the books. We have some good news, bad news, injury news, roster battle updates, and another training camp reaction show coming your way. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Thank you so much for hanging out here with me. And it is the final day of July as I record this show on July 31st. And under the entire Chat Sports umbrella, these are some of the marquee channels here covering teams across the NFL. We are number 2 in the most subscribers picked up this month. And we're only trailing the Raiders Report by 3. That is a channel north of 200,000 subscribers. We're getting there. We're north of 120K, but I want to take down the Raiders Report. No channel here at the company has picked up more subs in the last 365 days. Let's also win in the month of July. As for the Eagles injury report, these players did not participate today. And this is why you subscribe to the program as well, because we have you covered with daily Eagles news, reactions, updates, opinions, analysis, and anytime there's a juicy report, we have you covered there as well. Zach Bond, second consecutive practice, he did not participate in. He has a back contusion, not believed to be serious. That's a good sign for the first team All-Pro from last year and a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. E.J. Jenkins at the bottom of the barrel as far as that tight end depth chart goes, although last summer he had a fantastic showing in the preseason and in training camp. He did not participate today because of a hamstring issue. Terrace Marshall got hurt on Tuesday, and so today, after a walkthrough yesterday, he was not on the practice field. It's a knee injury, according to the Eagles. Andrew Makuba, third straight practice in which the rookie second-round pick did not participate. That shoulder injury continues to bother him. DeVonta Smith missing practice again with his back injury. And then Nolan Smith, second straight practice in which he was not on the field either as he deals with that concussion, and hopefully that doesn't linger. Trending upwards, though, is Drew Makuba. While he was not in full uniform, he did some steps lightly alongside Cooper DeJean and Mac McWilliams. Mac McWilliams, by the way, having a pretty good training camp. The rookie fourth-round pick out of UCF has been impressing Vic Fangio. These players limited at practice today on this Thursday. Jihaad Campbell, shoulder. It's been the case all camp. A lot of teams didn't draft him because they had injury concerns, yet he reported the training camp and started practicing right from the jump day one. Jalen Carter, shoulder. A.J. Dillon, new addition to the injury report. He was limited with a back injury, and then Cam Jurgens all throughout training camp. He's been limited too as he had that offseason back surgery. The battle for running back 2, very interesting. And in speaking of A.J. Dillon, it looks as though he is winning that battle so far. This coaching staff really likes him. These are the reps that the backup running backs have gotten with the first team offense when Saquon Barkley has gotten a breather. A.J. Dillon, 11 carries, 19 touches. Will Shipley, almost cut in half, 6 carries. He still had 16 touches. Now, Will Shipley has performed very well, and I think that he can be a really good player, but clearly the Eagles coaching staff, Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, Jerome Singleton, the running backs coach, he really likes, and they really like A.J. Dillon, who, if he can stay healthy, brings a physical dynamic to that Eagles backfield. 245 pounds, and a downhill runner. And then there's Nakobe Dean. The other day, we showed you the video from Jeff Kerr, who does a great job covering the Eagles for CBS Sports. Got to catch up with him in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and it was Dean doing sprints with the sled. Today, here he is doing some drills, and he continues to look fantastic. Look, when you suffer a patellar tendon injury, sometimes it takes players 12 to 14 months to come off of that. Dean suffered that injury in January. Here we are at the end of July, about to flip the book to August. And he's not 100%, but he looks damn good, and he is well ahead of schedule. The fact that he's doing this, he's doing sprints carrying a weight sled, that is a great sign for the Eagles linebacker who is entering the final year of his rookie contract, who played phenomenal last year and is looking to get a new contract either with the Birds, they're deep at linebacker, more on that in a moment, or with another team across the NFL. An injury that we will monitor is Ben Van Sumeren. He is the Eagles fullback. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie said this offseason, we want to resurrect the fullback position. Lurie, Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, they believe that the fullback has a spot in today's NFL. I agree, especially with this Eagles running attack. And prior to hurting his knee last year, Ben Van Sumeren was one of the secret weapons on this Eagles offense. Kellen Moore started to introduce him as a fullback, and he had some really good blocks paving open running lanes for Saquon Barkley. He tried to lead block one-on-one against Jihaad Campbell, and the rookie first-round pick out of Alabama, lit him up. And so BVS was slow to get up, walked off the field with trainers, and we'll see as this week progresses what his injury status is. And speaking of the linebacker spot, Ben Van Sumeren, a former linebacker, now he's just primarily a special teamer and a fullback. This Eagles team, for the first time in a very long time, has so much depth at the off-ball linebacker position. I thought this tweet from Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer was pretty telling. He has been covering the Eagles for 2 decades, and he took to X to say this: in my near 20 seasons covering the Eagles, I've seen them have a collection of off-ball linebackers as potentially, or I've never seen them have a collection of off-ball linebackers as potentially great as this group. The top 5 guys, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Jihaad Campbell, Smile Munden, are all dudes. Dean has to return from injury to be that same guy, of course, and the rookies have a ways to go, but they don't have wishing and hoping vets and undrafted rookies like in the past because of organizational undervaluing of the position. Credit to defensive coordinator Vic Fangio for stressing the importance, but also general manager Howie Roseman for listening and executing. And as we all know, real Eagles fans are understanding of this. Howie Roseman went from not investing, seemingly not caring about the off-ball linebacker spot, to investing in linebackers. Zach Bond is making $17 million per year. The Eagles traded up to take Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the draft in 2024. They used a first-round pick on an off-ball linebacker for the first time since the 1980s. All good businesses, I say this all the time, and all individuals who are good at their respective crafts need to adapt and evolve. And sometimes they need to make adjustments. Howie Roseman has done that. In today's NFL, with all of the speed, all of the concepts, all of the offensive wrinkles, the creative play designs, the creative play calls, personnel packages, spreading things out on offense, I think that the linebacker position has a lot of importance. These are really physical athletes who can run, who are physical. They can cover sideline to sideline. They can get up and down vertically. They can blitz the quarterback. They can drop back in coverage, covering tight ends, covering wide receivers, covering running backs. The modern-day linebacker has a lot of value in today's NFL. And I'm glad that Howie Roseman has started to understand this. But Jeff McClain makes a great point. Vic Fangio's probably been in his ear as well. Vic Fangio has been coaching in the NFL for decades. He has a long history of being a linebackers coach and coaching up and developing linebackers. Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis with the Niners, all-time greats in that generation. Look at what he did with Zach Bond. He was an off-ball linebacker for 2024 alone. Became a first-team All-Pro and a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Prior to that, the Saints were using him exclusively as a pass rusher. Look at what Vic Fangio did with the development of Nakobe Dean. His Eagles career to start was somewhat disappointing, given that he was the best off-ball linebacker while at Georgia winning natties. So this is a combo approach here from Fangio and Howie Roseman, and it has made this Eagles defense better. And at that second level, they have some guys. And yet again, Jihaad Campbell impressing today in training camp. He's been getting run with the ones at off-ball linebacker. Today, with the second-string defense, he was getting snaps at edge rusher. And I've said this a few times, but I can't always count on everybody watching every single show, and it is my job to inform you. So if I repeat myself sometimes, that is why. Jihaad Campbell, when he was at IMG Academy in high school, was recruited to Alabama as an edge rusher. Alabama had injuries at the linebacker position, so Nick Saban had him switch to off-ball linebacker. He's relatively new to that position, and last year he was the best linebacker on the Alabama team and arguably the best off-ball linebacker, coverage-wise, in college football in this draft class. But he has those foundational skills to be used as a pass rusher. And so as we project forward to the 2025 season, I cannot wait to see how Vic Fangio utilizes Jihaad Campbell's versatility. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has had a really good camp. He might start week 1 next to Zach Bond, and that's fine. Trot has unbelievable instincts at the linebacker position. But I can tell you this, if Campbell is healthy, he will be used in coverage and as a pass rusher, and he too can contribute and make this Eagles defense more potent. Even Smile Mondon was making plays today. He blew up multiple rushing attempts at that linebacker spot. When he was at Georgia, he was really good. Suffered from some injuries, but he was a really good coverage and off-ball linebacker. And I think immediately he can really help Philadelphia on special teams. But even he today is able to read and diagnose running plays and crack some of these running backs and lay some big hits. And I also have to say, at Georgia, I thought he was a little bit small. Smile Mondon looks jacked here. Other roster battles and roster notes that we need to get to. The Eagles did sign Avery Williams this offseason. Really interesting player. He came into the league as a corner, drafted out of Boise State by the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Falcons, after his first year, used him at running back, tight end, slot receiver, outside wide receiver. He was used as a return man. He's a really good returner, primarily as a punt guy, but he can also return kicks. He got some work at punt returner today. That is his path to making the team, and he could be a weapon for that third phase of the game. Shunderrick Powell, the UDFA out of Central Arkansas. Really like this pickup when the Eagles signed him as an undrafted free agent. Go back and look at that video because we heap some praise upon him. His speed today was on display. Now, Shunderrick Powell is a smaller back. That's why he had that relative athletic score of 7.46 in the pre-draft process. He only measured in and weighed in at 5'7", 183. So he is in that Darren Sproles type of build, but even Sproles was a little bit stockier. But Powell is a very explosive player. You see the green on your screen here. He was elite with a 40.5-inch vertical at 5'7". That's crazy. And a broad jump over 10 feet. And then the 40-yard dash, 4.4 flat. Once the preseason comes around, he is one of the players who I am most interested to see. And maybe he doesn't have an opportunity to make this Eagles roster, but as a practice squad guy, developmental player, shoot, even if the Eagles hold on to 4 running backs, he could have a shot there. Daily update on the outside cornerback position opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. Today, it was Adoree Jackson back running with the first-string defense to start practice. Vic Fangio has really flip-flopped here, going back and forth to see which player can win that job. And neither player, Adoree Jackson or Kelee Ringo, has been able to run away with it. I do like Fangio's approach here. It seems like he's gone with 2x2 kind of sets here, where Ringo will run with the ones for 2 straight practices, and then it's been Adoree. Is it going to be the vet or the young player who wins that job? We'll see. It's an open competition and a feisty one. Ringo today did have a good pass breakup in a one-on-one against Johnny Wilson on a would-be touchdown. Yet again, Johnny Wilson 6'6", playing small. He has not had a good start to training camp. Vic Fangio's defense. This is the overarching story of today's practice session. His defensive unit won the day again. This is the 4th straight practice in which the defense has been better than the Eagles' offense. And there are some really good signs here. The secondary making plays on the rock, sticky coverage. But some of these young defensive linemen are having really good camps. That includes Jalyx Hunt. He has a couple of sacks so far. He had a would-be sack of Jalen Hurts this morning. Jordan Mailata saying last week that he has shades of Micah Parsons. Jordan Davis also had a would-be sack of Jalen Hurts on a big fourth down play. He was able to penetrate the pocket from the interior. We've talked a lot about Moro Ajomo, who's had a really good camp too, trying to replace Milton Williams. I think he does that and more. And then a good sign here, Jalen Carter, who last year proved to be one of the top defensive players in the game for the first time in training camp, participated in 11 on 11s. He missed the first couple of practices with that shoulder injury, but he too is trending in a good direction. Now, coming up next, is this a concern that the Eagles' offense has been struggling and that Jalen Hurts has seemingly cooled off the last few practices after he was unbelievable the first few practice sessions? We're going to have that conversation coming up just around the corner, but I got to plug this deal. Thanks to our homies at Fanatics, this Eagles cutoff hoodie, available in multiple sizes, is $22 off now. It was $55 listed on the Fanatics site. It's now just $33. Get yours now at chatsports.com/Eagles cutoff. So for the fourth straight practice, Eagles defense able to best the Eagles offense. And after a white-hot start to camp, Jalen Hurts has really cooled. Is this a Kevin Patullo problem? Is this a Jalen Hurts issue? Is it the fact that this Eagles defense, which was number one in football last year, is just really good? Are there some growing pains with this Eagles offense? Are we making too much out of the Eagles offense struggling because it is only training camp, and that's why you have these reps and practice sessions? Maybe a combination of all of those things, but there was a 2-minute situation where the Eagles were pumping in some crowd noise. Everybody was watching. The pressure was on. And Jalen Hurts, early in that drive, overthrew Saquon Barkley on a Texas route. That's where the running back is in the backfield, kind of takes that diagonal approach out of the backfield, then cuts it in between the seams. And Jalen Hurts overthrew that football. It was picked off by Eli Ricks, who is a corner who has a lot of ability. UDFA, out of Alabama, one of the top recruits coming out of high school. He was running with the ones, I thought, in 2023, given how bad that Eagles defense was as far as personnel and coaching under Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. He played pretty well. He's kind of fallen under the radar because the Eagles were so deep at corner, but a good moment for him today as he intercepted Jalen Hurts. Hurts' second interception in 6 training camp practices. And of course, we got to throw it to Elliott Shore-Parks, who really started the trend of keeping track of training camp stats. Obviously, context always matters, but you practice how you play, and I think there's value in this. ESP giving Hurts a D-plus grade. I think the last practice on Tuesday, he gave Hurts a C grade. Hurts today, 6 of 11, no touchdowns, and 1 pick. Now, sometimes in these training camp practices, it's situational football. So you'll start a drive on the 25, like the Eagles did in this 2-minute situation. You'll only do red zone. Sometimes you'll be backed up on your goal line, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Again, context very important. Hurts didn't throw it a lot today, but him struggling with limited attempts, according to ESP, is why that grade was a little bit lower. But this is part of a greater story, right? In 2024, last year, Jalen Hurts situationally was really good. He trimmed down on a huge turnover problem from 2023, the season prior, when he fumbled a lot and he threw a lot of picks. That was a big reason, him playing clean football, why the Eagles' offense was able to be dominant and utterly unstoppable last year in a lot of instances. And with the Eagles practicing this 2-minute drill, ball on the 25, Hurts airmailed the throw. He wants that one back. He also sailed Dotson once the Eagles came back off of that turnover, and then he was sacked on 4th down. And that is a little bit of a troubling trend situationally that the Eagles have been struggling throughout training camp because last year they were so good. And when you have another new offensive coordinator and another new play caller, 3rd down, red zone, situational football, there is a little bit of a learning curve there. And sometimes that switch from a guy like Kellen Moore to an experienced guy like Kevin Patullo can cost your offense. Now, of course, it is training camp. This is why you practice. There's a new offensive coordinator. Should we be worried? I'm not hitting the panic button right now. If it continues into the regular season, yeah, you got to have some worries there because Brian Johnson in 2023, as a new OC, I thought struggled with some situational football. What you do like to see, though, is that Kevin Patullo has been creative, and he's introduced some new concepts. This offense is a little bit fresh. He's been implementing motion, movement. This is pre-snap and post-snap. And last year, when the Eagles introduced under Kellen Moore more pre-snap motion, Jalen Hurts fared very well. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks benefiting off of pre-snap motion. The Eagles used pre-snap motion on 50.8% of Jalen Hurts' dropbacks last year. That was middle of the pack among the 32 teams in the NFL. But in 2023, under Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni played a role in this. The Eagles were 28th in pre-snap motion at 28%. With the use of pre-snap motion, Hurts was second in the NFL in rating at 116.6. He completed 69.3% of his passes. That ranked 10th. For 8.9 yards per attempt, that was second. And his 7.3% touchdown rate was fifth. Off of pre-snap motion, he threw 13 touchdowns and 2 picks. Hurts without motion, though, struggled. He was 17th in rating at 91. He completed 68.1% of his passes, which did rank fifth. But his yards per attempt at 7.2 was 19th. He had a 2.7% touchdown rate. That was 31st. And in 2025, Hurts is going to be on his 6th offensive coordinator and play caller since coming into the league in 2020. So again, you got to expect some challenges. You got to expect some rough patches throughout camp. Again, that is why you had these training camp practices. But this subject matter is something that we need to remember as we look ahead to the regular season. It's the second week of camp. You got to stack days. You got to get those reps in. You got to get better. You're going up against Vic Fangio, one of the top defensive coordinators in the game, going up against Kevin Patullo, who is a first-year offensive coordinator, but his inexperience, little bit of a concern, right, as we look ahead to 2025, because he'll be going up against DCs who are very experienced and could exploit his inexperience. Remember this show as we look ahead once the games get underway. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Reaching millions of people here, talking Eagles every day. But I'm always talking birds on X and IG at Chase_Senior. So give me a follow. Say what's up. And as always, go Birds.